The question was, how are you doing, sir?
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Merci, Azizan. So, let's get started. So, first of all, I want to thank DJ Otto. Like the watermelons, by the way. So, we will start. So tonight we have a master class. Very kindly by the gentleman here. But before we start the master class, we have a guest who wants to take you on a journey. Am I right? So we're gonna do that for like a few minutes, and then we're gonna start with the master class by 7:30. Okay?
Sure.
Let's go.
Good evening, guys. It's my pleasure to introduce my old friend, Commander Praveen. Commander Praveen. So, Commander Praveen actually served in Navy as an aeronautical engineer, and he had trained a lot of UAE Air Force pilots and one Air Force pilots, but he's not here because of that. He actually took a journey which is quite different and interesting. So he's an award-winning mentalist, memory coach, and a magician. Over to Commander Praveen.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'm actually supposed to give you some surprises today. But to start with the surprise, I have to request people sitting here to move forward, because you would be the only people who won't be surprised. If you are going to be sitting behind me. So could you please move forward, everyone? Thank you so much. Okay, like Mr. Raj introduced me, I am a mentalist, but before that I used to be a magician. So I thought I will entertain you today with a couple of magic tricks, and then probably I'll read some of your minds as well. So to begin with, can I borrow something small from the audience, like a 500 dirham note? Hope that's not very big, is it? Yeah. Who can reach into your pocket and come out with a 500 dirham note? Quickly.
You can donate it. You can donate it to someone.
We'll talk about donation later. Thank you so much, sir. You're very kind. What's your name?
Sil.
Sil.
Yeah, SIL.
SIL. Sil. Give Sil a round of applause, please. For being so valuable.
I'm gonna get that back though.
You can say goodbye to this money. Now, Sil, watch this carefully. From there, I want you to watch this. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a 500 dirham note. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm going to fold this in half. And at this point, you should notice my sleeves are rolled up. Okay, so nothing is going to go up and down my sleeves. So at the end of the trick, please don't say it went up its sleeve. That would be wrong. Okay, and I'm going to hold the note right in front of me like this. That is the second fold. So can you see the 500? Perfect. And that is the third fold, Phil. Sil, your 500 is still safe in my hand. Now this is where the magic happens. If I fold it one more time, like that, give it, the note will never leave your side, okay? Give it a blow, and then if I unfold the note, you see, so something magic happens to your 500 because it changes to
What?
That's exactly a 5 dirham note. Everyone looks very happy except Sil. I can understand your feelings, but Sil, that was a good trick, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to go to 1,000, 10,000.
We'll discuss this later. But you admit it's a good trick.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you take back your money, I'll do my next trick. You were impressed, right? Yeah. Okay, would you like to see this trick again?
Yes.
Okay, got another 500? You wanted to see it again. So let's not fleece any more money from poor sales. So we'll do an action replay. Watch this very carefully, ladies and gentlemen. That's the fiver, fold it once, and that is the second fold. That is the third fold. Watch very carefully. That's the last fold. The blow. And as I unfold, you can see the effect happening, and your 500 is gone. Thank you. Still seems so relieved now. Okay, so do you know why this is my favorite trick? And I always do this as my opening trick. Do you know why? Because every time I do this trick, the person who lends me the money will be so impressed. He will say,
Now I'm gonna need that back.
Sil is not impressed. So let's give Sil a big round of applause. Thank you very much. Okay, so that was a magic trick. I want to show you one more trick before I proceed with mentalism. And that is a card trick. Now, any magician worth his salt should do a card trick. If you don't do a card trick, you are not even considered to be a magician. Now, I'm so good with card tricks, my friends call me a cardiologist. And when you do card tricks, you go to practice a lot. So one day, I was sitting in my home, practicing my card trick when my wife walked in. Oh, by the way, my wife, she's a much better magician than me. Yeah, she can turn anything into an argument. Have you seen money disappear? She can do it faster than me. Okay, so she said, what are you doing? I said, look, I'm practicing my card trick. And then she said, okay, then show me the trick. I said, fine, pick a card. She said, you have 3 cards in your hand and you want me to pick a card? I said, yeah. She said, no, I want to see the cards first. So I asked her, which card do you want to see? So she pointed to this one. You want to learn my secrets now?
Yeah.
Please, would you go to the front? Would you sit here, please? You know why? Thank you very much. Okay, so I asked her, which card do you want to see? And she pointed to this card and said, I want to see this card. So I showed her, this card is this card. And then she pointed to the one on top, said, show me this card on top. I said, this card on top is this card chip. And then she pointed to the one in the middle. How about this card in the middle? I said, this card in the middle is this card as well. So she said, what's the big point? If all the cards are same, why should I pick a card? And I said, no, they are not all the same. She said, really? I said, for example, that one is different. And then she said, then okay, show me that card. So I showed her, that card is that card. And then she pointed to the one on top. Said, what about that card on top? I said, that card on top is that card chip. And then she said, but then what about that card in the middle? I said, that card in the middle is that card as well. Now she was getting angry at me. So she asked me, so what was this card? I said, this was of course this card. Now she was really annoyed at me. She said, what was the other card? What was the other card? So, ladies and gentlemen, this has generally been the story of my life. I had always wanted this and that, but not the other. Like everybody. Okay, so now let's progress into mind reading. Do you know that every one of you sitting here has got a distinct personality? You admit to that. Okay, and it is different. And your personality is normally reflected by the colors that you choose. Okay? So I'm going to invite 3 people onto the stage to come in along with me to have me with us. So would you join me?
Yes.
Yeah, give a round of applause, please. So would you join me as well? Thank you very much. And let's call the lady on the stage. Would you like to join me? If you can see your hands.
Are you sure?
I am sure. Are you sure? That's the question.
Okay.
Okay, give these 3 lovely people a big round of applause. Instant, I'll deal with you last, okay? So, gentlemen, this is what we're going to do. I have a cube with 6 different colors. They're all different. Okay, what's your name, sir? Hussam. Hussam, what I want you to do is choose one of these colors in your mind. Okay, you can look at them, but choose one color in your mind. Then if it is white, for example, keep it on your palm with your chosen color facing the ceiling. Cover it with the other hand so nobody can see. You know what to do. And I will look, okay? There are no cameras to help me with this. I'm not looking here. There are no mirrors. I'm looking directly at you speaking. Hussam, have you done it?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, keep your hands straight. Look at it. Doesn't he look dashing? He's a very smart, fiery person. That's a fire in him. That is what I detect, sir. When I stood close to you, I could even feel the heat. Because there's a fire inside him. There's so much of energy. He's trying to start up something. He's trying to achieve goals. He's got huge ambitions, and not only that, so we can also see that you are very romantic. Okay, there is a very good, very nice romantic side to this, and I know that there are a lot of people behind you because of that trait. Now, what color does romance and fire and energy? Red. But if I read you correctly, you should have selected the color red. What color did you choose? Okay, pass on the cube to him. So, what is your good name?
Eugene.
Eugene, you know the procedure?
Yes.
Choose one, keep your hand on top, hold it steady, okay? And once again, I'm not looking, I'm just trying to read people here. That's it. Have you done, Eugene?
Yes.
Eugene looks like a very peaceful and calm person. That's what I see. You are a calm person at heart. You don't get angry. You don't get annoyed very soon. Maybe at home with your wife, maybe, but not generally with other people. But you are a person who's very composed. Okay, and you take decisions. Taking your time. You don't jump into decisions. You don't jump into situations. You are a calm, quiet, nice person. A serene person. And all this are traits of the color. Green.
How come?
How come? He's got green. That's it. So we go back. So Eugene and Hazel, you can go back to your seat. Madam, you're special. What's your name? Anisha, these two gentlemen, they chose a color, and those colors truly represented their characters. Yeah? That was not it.
Mine's not in the cube.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, I know that, that's precisely what I was trying to tell you. Hold the cube in your hand.
Okay.
In the frame.
Like any color?
Wait, let me tell you. Okay, let me hold
Okay.
it. Okay. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, so those two gentlemen voluntarily chose the color. But you, I'm going to let the color choose you. Which means you don't look down, you just move it in your hand like this, finally settle on that color. And you should not know what color it is.
Okay.
You understand? But
Okay.
when you're holding it, make sure it is flat like this, it should not be
Yeah.
like that.
Got it.
That's not a color,
Got it.
right? So it has to be flat.
Okay.
So, Anisha.
Anisha.
Okay, Anisha, so don't look at the cube, look at them, and keep moving, and when you are happy, stop. I won't look, I'm not even looking at the side. Done?
Okay.
You holding still?
Okay.
Okay. I'm just trying to feel what you are. Anisha, I feel, the reason why I asked you to help me with this, because I found you to be a friendly person. I knew I could trust you because of the smile. You have a lovely smile. And when you smile, it shows that you are a person who's warm and friendly, and people can come to you and talk to you, and they won't be disappointed. Okay. You are the kind of person who would love to help. You see somebody in a situation, in a problem, your heart turns out. You want to go there, support that person, help. You're a warm, friendly person. And I think this warmth, this friendliness are all the colors. They belong to the color yellow. We don't know that for sure. But tell me, did I speak truly about you that you're warm, friendly, helpful? Yeah? So yellow should be your color. Sure.
Okay, it's yellow.
So now you know your color.
It's one of the colors I love, yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. And
Thank
you shall
you.
go back to your seat. You have a round of applause, please. Okay. Now this is something I love to do in all my shows because I love to give away some gift during the show. So what are we going to do here? I've got 5 envelopes. They're numbered 1 to 5. And the good news is one of these envelopes contain a 500 note. The other 4 envelopes contain blank papers. Okay. In the moment, I'm going to distribute 4 envelopes into the audience. You get the number you called for. So once 4 envelopes are out of my hand, I'll be left with 1. Now remember, I didn't choose it. I have it because nobody else wanted it. Now if the money is in one of the envelopes that you are holding, it's yours to keep. Yeah, good money, right? I'm not even being paid today. But if the money is in the envelope that I'm holding because nobody else wanted it, then I will keep it and you will give me a round of applause for being very, very smart. Okay, now see, this is a psychological game because I know which envelope contains the money. So my purpose would be to make sure that none of you choose that envelope. Okay, I can see this lady looking at me like this. It's so curious. So you're going to be the first person. Ma'am, what is your name?
Nadia.
Nadia, yeah, I remember Nadia. Before you call out a number, let me tell you. I played this game 3 times this month. And every time I kept the money in number 2. For some reason, I don't know. Okay, I'm just giving you some information. So Nadia, which number would you like to have?
4.
Not 2?
No.
You don't trust me?
No, I want 4.
You want 4.
Yes.
Perfect. Number 4 envelope is all yours, but please do not open it right now. Okay? Okay, let's count this side, sir. Number 2 still. Okay?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's where I kept the money last 3 times. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, and 5. Sir, which one would you like?
What about equity? Like, no? Just 500, no equity inside.
No equity. The rest are all blank pages.
I trust people. Let's take number 2, yeah.
Number 2, come on, give me a round of applause for being very, very trusting. Sir, I have a plot of land in Siberia, very costly. Would you like to buy it? Okay, I thought you might. Now listen, do I look so stupid that I always keep the money in number 2 envelope? But then advertise to the world, that's where I usually keep. Do I look that stupid? No, right? I could be lying. Yeah. In my shows, I lie a lot. When I tell you I'm the greatest magician in the world, I'm not joking. I'm lying. Okay, I do lie. Okay, so we still have 135. The money could be anywhere here. So are you busy? You okay? Yeah, which envelope?
Number 1.
1. Always want to be number 1. Don't open it yet. That leaves us with 2. Which one do you want? 5 or 3? Choice is yours. Sure. Number 3 is all yours. So that leaves me with number 5. Ma'am, the show is going to get better.
I have 4 minutes for the next one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, so number 5, nobody else wanted. Okay, was that a fair distribution of envelopes?
Yep.
Everybody
Seems like
got
that,
the
yeah.
number they wanted? Okay, except for number 2. Number 2, sir. 1, 3, 4. Please rip open your envelope. Remove the contents. You can rip it open. You don't have to carefully open it. Just rip it open. Remove the content. Open it up. Display it above your head so we can all see who's got the 500. That's a blank piece of paper, sorry, blank piece of paper there, blank piece of paper there. What is your name, sir?
Max.
Max, do you realize what has just happened? Your chance of winning that 500 dirham has shot up from 20% to 50%.
Correct.
So has mine.
Yeah.
Not just you, but you.
Let's split it.
Let's join me on the stage. Please give a round of applause one more time. We will not split it, but we will reach. I'll give you one more chance.
All right.
I'll tell you why I win this game all the time. Because when I give Max a chance to switch his envelope with mine, he will watch. Max.
Yep.
You have number 2 envelope.
All right.
And you know I don't look stupid. I couldn't have kept it there and told people that's where I came. So it could be here. So I'm going to give you a fair chance. Would you like to switch your envelope with mine?
Definitely.
I told you, he will. I don't want you to regret this because you know I'm a mentalist and probably I'm influencing your choice. So I'm going to give you one more chance. Would you like to switch it?
No.
Are you sure? Are you very sure?
Yeah.
Because once the decision is made, it's done. There is a kind of reverse psychology happening here. I told you right from the beginning, I know where the end money is. My duty, my job is to make sure you don't pick that up.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you one final chance. Do you?
1,000 and I will switch. Come on. No, I will stay. Like I've chosen. Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely here.
It's definitely there. There is something inside this as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to open this.
Okay.
I don't believe this, Max. Right inside this is 100 note, and that is the 500 I gave him fair chances, okay? And I even got my money back using my reverse psychology. Thank you so much, Max.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please go back to your seat. Okay, we will finish off with one final mentalism, and I need a lady to help me with. Would you like to join me? Yeah, give her a round of applause, please. Do you read a lot of books, ma'am? Not recently, but do you read books? Are you a bookworm? Half. You know, once somebody asked my wife, "Is your husband a bookworm?" And she said, "No, he's just an author." That's what she said. What about me? Okay, Count Dracula by Bram Stoker. Have you read this? Okay, hold on. This is something about a war movie. Okay, fighter, jet. Yeah, I can't even pronounce the name. This is a suspense, like hidden canvas. And this is a book everyone should read. So interesting. It's the dictionary. Not a dull page in this book. Okay. So what we're going to do is, you're going to keep one for yourself. Which one do you want? One of these. Or you put the hidden canvas. Okay, would you give this to two people? And not to these two. These two came with me. They're my friends, so don't give it to them. And meantime, sir, could you hold up the dictionary? Oh, no, not the young boy. Boy is too little for that. You can give it to Nati. Yeah. Is that okay? Okay, who's got the other one? Who's got the other book? Now you sit right there. I'm going to take a look. I'm going to refill the pages of this book like that. I want you to see each word on the first line. Because you need your glasses. Okay, that's okay. You need glasses? No. Okay. So when I'm refilling the pages, do you see that every word is different? The first word here. The first word is different. And when you can stop me at any time you want. Once you stop, can I see through the side? No. You are the only person who can say this. Okay, that's fair. Okay, and make sure every page is different. You can tell me stop anywhere. Right here. Would you like me to continue, or is that your final decision?
Let's continue.
I can continue. Yeah.
Stop.
Right here, or you want me to continue? Is that your final decision? Final decision. Do you see the word there?
No.
No. Can you see the word?
Yes.
The first word on the first line.
Yes.
Do you understand the word?
Yes.
Do you know the meaning of the word?
Yes.
Okay. Is that fine?
Yeah.
You sure?
Okay.
No. You're happy with that, right? Yes. Okay, fine. So we will leave the book here. Who's got Dracula? You got Dracula. Okay, how many pages are there in that book, man? Yeah, look at the last page.
439.
439. Is he your son?
Yes.
Give her any number between 1 and 439. That's one. Quick. 312. 12. Okay, you open to 312, please.
Yes.
You're on 312. Would you like to look at the first word or the first line or the last word or the last line? Choice is yours.
First time.
Do you want to look at the first word on the first line?
Yes.
Or the last word on the last line?
The first one word.
The first word on the first line.
Yes.
That's your choice. Look at it, remember it, don't forget.
Okay.
You remember it?
Yes.
Okay. And you, ma'am, open to any page. You don't have to close your eyes, you can open to any page. Okay? You can look on either side, yeah, and think of any word on either of the pages, but make it a little challenging, make it a big word, a long word, you know, like 6 or 7 letters and above. Do you have a good word? You have a word? It is not the first word, it is not the last word, it is somewhere in the middle or somewhere. Correct? And it is a long word, you made it difficult for me. Correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Let us do some mind reading here. Starting with you. You remember the word. Think of the first letter of your word only in your mind. What is the first letter of the word that you are thinking? Loudly.
S.
Not me. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Double S. Usually I don't go wrong. Somebody is trying to mislead me here. Sir,
Yes, no.
is your first letter P?
Yes.
That's it. You are not supposed to be thinking, she is supposed to be thinking. Sir, you keep your mind blank. You thinking of P and that thought is coming straight to me. Are you in a hurry to go, sir? I'll deal with you first. Okay, hang on. That's okay. You have this word in your mind. I will deal with you first, okay? You seems to be in a hurry. Okay, sir. Could you tell everyone what word you're thinking in your mind?
Pleading.
Are you pleading to me? No. The word is pleading.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Yeah. So I hope you're okay with that. You, ma'am. Your son gave you a page number. Okay, you had a choice. You could have looked at the first word or the last word. You went for the first word. I want you to focus on the first letter of the word in your mind. Okay? What is the first letter of your word?
I tell you, what's that?
No, wait. Yeah, I was right. What is the first letter of the word that you're thinking? Huh? C. T. T. Like this? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Okay, think of the whole word in your mind, and I am getting something. I hope this works today. What word are you thinking, ma'am? What word are you thinking?
I tell you the words?
Yeah.
Today.
That's what I said. I hope it works today. I said.
Yeah, the word is today.
That's what I said. Sure. And the last is with you. You have a word in your mind. And remember, she opened to any page she wanted. She looked at any word she wanted. And she even made it tougher for me. Right? Okay. Look at the audience. I'm going to write something here. Focus. Look at the audience, keep on focusing. I think I got it.
Remember?
Does it make any sense to you? No? So I won't waste your time. Because we have paucity of time. Sir, have you finished reading the dictionary?
Yes,
You did? Okay, do me a favor. Could you turn to page 329, please?
329.
329. Okay, on every page there is a left column and a right column. I want you to look at the left column because I put a nail there.
Okay.
Okay, left column, page 329. Sir, you help him whether he's doing it correctly. Now I want you to look at the 15th word whose meaning is explained. You know, it's printed in bold. Yeah, 15th word from the top. Can you write your word on this? I'll take the book from you. In capital letters, please. Did you find the word, 15th word?
I'm not sure.
Yes.
What is it?
Which one? Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. You got it? Yeah. You got it? Okay. Would you loudly tell us what is the 15th word on page 329?
Sudden.
Sudden. Where are you going, man? What word did you write? Sudden. Suddenly. Yeah, suddenly. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I have to stop right here, but I hope you enjoyed this brief presentation of mind reading and magic. Did you have a good time? I hope to see you all again in future at some time. And before I go, I would like to say this today's program, organized by Krishna Raj, has been was sponsored by an institute called Your Own Institute. Okay, they are the one who actually sponsored this. So thank you, Your Own Institute.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Hi everyone. Sorry, we're running a little late. How many new people are there in the room today? Youngest member? Okay, so a lot of the people that have come before. My name is Anisha Oberoi. I'm a part of the community admin. I run the masterclass program and just about to introduce our speaker for the second masterclass. Just like to give you a few house rules. If you would like to host a masterclass for the community, then please come up to us in advance so that we can fit you in the syllabus if you have that area of expertise that you would like to speak on. And secondly, if you would like to host a speaking session like this, because we meet every Friday, masterclasses are every consecutive Friday, please come up to us in advance. We're German about timing, usually, but please help enforce so that people can attend all the sessions that they would like to attend because it's a Friday night. So, it's my great pleasure to introduce our guest, Ziad Ahmed. Ziad Ahmed is currently the MD of Data Science and Credit at Eny-Consulting, the leading banking as a service BaaS provider in the UAE. Ziad has been a tech entrepreneur for the past 7 years with 3 successful exits. His first was as part of the team at Afterpay US, which was acquired by Block in 2021 for $29 billion, one of the largest fintech acquisitions in history. He moved to Dubai in 2020 and co-founded Spotty with his sister, Anusha, which became one of the first BNPL's buy now, pay later in the GCC region and grew to over 1 million customers. It was acquired by an AU publicly traded company 18 months, just 18 months after launch, marking his second exit. In Jan 23, Zip made the strategic decision to exit the market. That was the company that acquired it. And Ziad reacquired Spotty from Zip, pivoting it to a white label tech provider for embedded finance solutions and rebranding it to Spotty in a Box, or SIAB. In June of last year, SIAB was acquired by Nym Card, marking his third exit. Ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that you won't talk when the masterclass is going to be going on. Please welcome Ziad Ahmed on how to build an ACE pitch deck.
Thanks, Anisha. And thank you guys. I really appreciate the attendance. I know it's a Friday evening, so I'm going to hopefully be able to make it worth it. So as Anisha mentioned, my name is Ziad Ahmed. I've been a tech entrepreneur for the past 7 years. So know a thing or two about know a thing or two about how to raise funds, how to be able to do a pitch deck. So, all right. So, why are we here? The goal is to be able to equip you guys with an easy mental model that will be able to help you craft your pitch decks. My idea is, at the end of the day, pitch decks are just like everything else, it's a process, right? There are certain elements that need to be introduced into that process in order for you to be able to convey your story in the most powerful manner, right? So I will walk you guys through what are commonly accepted as 11 crucial pitch deck slides for successful fundraising. I will be introducing examples as well, just for you to be able to help you guys visualize exactly what it is that each one of these slides and each one of these messages, what it should entail, right? I'm going to, the presentation is about 30 minutes. I want to spend 30 minutes just trying to take Q&A, hopefully. If not, it makes for a much less interactive discussion. It's just not as much fun. And I guess the why listen and why aren't we all out right now at a bar instead? Hopefully you're going to get something out of it. I am a 2-time founder, 3-time exit. I've done over 300 of these pitches across the board. I've raised various cap structures across different vehicles, across different types of asset classes, whether we're talking about venture debt, we're talking about spotting with a seed Series A exit, spotting a box with a management buyout and exit. Right, so jumping right into it. As I mentioned, they're going to be, most pitch decks that you're going to see have some combination of these 11 slides and these 11 topics, right? The reason is that ultimately you're trying to get the investor to share that same dream with you, right? So think about this, it's all about storytelling. So you need to be able to put whatever those building blocks are in your head, in the investor's head, to be able to make him understand how it is that why it is that he should be investing with you, right? So the first one is, it's kind of like the obvious one, right? It's the introduction. It's about crafting an engagement opening. It should be concise, by the way, which is going to be a theme throughout all of these slides. Be concise, right? No one is sitting around like reading lines and lines of pages, right? So introducing.
Sorry.
Is that
okay?
No, first one, please. It should be an engaging opening, right? Like think about it. Like this is your hook. The example that I want to share with you guys was Uber's initial pitch deck, right? So as you can kind of see in 6 very concise bullet points, it was able to help illustrate that concept for whomever was sitting across the table. Next one. Your second slide typically follows up with a problem statement, right? It's articulating what needs to get fixed here, right? Typically here, it's about the problem statement will always end up leading into what the total addressable market is for that company that you are trying to solve, right? It is also the way for you to be able to connect with the person across from you, right? My best investor meetings have always been when I can articulate a problem and the person across the table has been thinking that this is a problem that needs to be solved as well, right? So it's to be able to articulate what your problem statement is, right? Just get them to start thinking that this is something that needs to be solved. Right? And then obviously, right, once you've articulated, you've set up the groundwork for your problem statement, it's about your solution, right? It's as I sort of was talking about earlier, it's about bringing that investor along with you on your journey, right? So you've already sort of helped him visualize that problem. Now you're going to basically explain to him why it is that only you and only the way that you guys are thinking about it, or you have thought about it, well, how is it that this is going to be able to uniquely solve that problem for you, right? It is very common. By the way, there is a side note here. Typically, investors, as you can imagine, an average investor spends meets with about 8, or is introduced to 8 ideas a day, right? So typically, the investor is familiar with your industry. He is familiar with that problem statement. And so whenever you are crafting the solution, and when I was talking about why it is that only you are uniquely positioned to be able to do that, make sure that you've actually researched your competitors. The worst thing that you can experience is when the investor's just like, have you heard of this company? They actually do exactly what it is that you're trying to position as your unique solution. Slide 4, the market opportunity, right? Typically, when you're trying to raise pre-revenue, pre-seed, maybe even Series A, right? You don't have a ton of traction. You don't have a ton of, it's not like you can show P&L to this investor and sort of say that this is what your company has achieved, right? You've got to be able to get him to imagine. You've got to be able to get him to think big, right? And the best way for you to be able to do that is to ensure that you know your market sizing, right? TAM, SAM, right? Like that's all great acronyms, right? But for you to be able to understand really what is the size of the market that you're going to go after. At the end of the day, remember the investor has to write a memo. The investor has to build a model because they have to go through their committee, right? And I'm talking about traditional VC family offices, traditional investors, right? I'm not talking about like angels and things like that, but well, a good angel maybe, but help them build that model out, right? And normally they build the model up from a bottoms-up perspective, right, or a top-down perspective. Help them be able to understand that. Help them be able to articulate, craft that Excel spreadsheet for them, right? A point to remember, right? Big is better. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made during my earlier rounds was that I was too conservative, right? Like when I would forecast, I'd be like, okay, this is what I think I could achieve, right? It's sometimes that can hurt you, right? Big tends to be better. 1% market share of a $100 billion industry is always going to be better than a 50% market share of a $10 million industry, right? And it's like, this is your business model, right? This is you outlining with a very clean, simple structure, right? How do you make money? At the end of the day, especially, this is no longer 2020, 2021, right? Most investor meetings now, in fact, I do angel investing as well. My first question to most of these, most of the founders that pitch to me is, how much money do you need to become self-sustaining? That's it, right? I don't care about the industry, etc., etc. That's my first question, and that is my most important one. I'm not alone in that. I'm part of an angel network. It's what we all typically ask, right? Interest rates have risen, money isn't as cheap anymore. You need to be able to understand how to build an actually sustainable business, right? As opposed to growth for growth. And again, visuals help. simplicity helps, right? Being able to articulate that, like, this is your, you're breaking down your unit economics in its three most core fundamental building blocks, and being able to articulate that really quickly, right? Like, that all helps. TikTok, for example, that was from TikTok's investor deck. That's all they showed, right? But it was simple. It was people were able to understand and visualize how it is that TikTok could become. I think it was valued like $100 billion right now. Yeah, how it could become a $100 billion company, right? I know I said that you're not going to have a lot of traction, but you will have some traction, right? It is very rare that somebody's just going to give you money because you have, you've put an idea down, you've drawn an idea on a napkin or something like that, right? Especially if you are a first-time founder, right? So showing any kind of traction, and traction doesn't necessarily need to be revenue growth, whatever it is. Traction is any kind of achievement, any kind of progress your company has made, right? This is also important because a lot of time investors, at least the good ones, right? If they haven't given you a very specific reason as to why they are not investing, and they tell you that they want to keep in touch, it's not just a line. They actually do want to keep in touch. The good ones, right? So it's not a bad idea for you to be having this traction slide, because you will likely simultaneously be raising money while building your operations, right? So it's always, I actually had an investor who said no to me 3 times before he finally invested, right? Took me a while to get there, but it was consistent. I would update him every 2 months. He would see that I was very consistent with hitting those milestones that I had projected, and I was doing what I said I was doing, right? And that allowed him to pull the trigger. We touched upon this when I was talking about competition, right? Competition, it is important for you to be able to understand your market. It is important for you to be able to understand what it is that makes you unique, not just from the incumbents, but also from the up-and-comers, right? When we were growing Spotty, buy now, pay later wasn't a big industry. The people that we were competing against were traditional banks, as well as all the other buy now, pay laters that had started up at around the same time, right? Be able to express to the investor how it is that you stand out. This actually ties very much into that problem-solution dynamic from earlier on. It is important for you to be able to express why it is that the investor should bet on you, right? Typically, investors will pick one company in a specific vertical, industry, whatever it is. They want to try to be able to figure out who's the best earlier on. And you guys are all, operators. You guys are all founders, entrepreneurs, right? You guys know how difficult it is, the grind on a day-to-day basis, right? Because it's great even if you do get funded, right? That's fantastic, but like the easiest way for you to run out of money is by messing up your operations. It happens, right? So articulating, thinking about your marketing and your sales strategy, being able to put that on a piece of paper is not just great for fundraising, but it's also great for your guys, for your discipline as well, right? Again, it's gotta be, when you are pitching it to the investor, you are trying to, as I mentioned, build a story and build a theme as to why it is that you are going to be the best. Help him understand how it is that you're going to be able to execute everything that you talked about so far, right? Concise, allow him to see it in his mind's eye. Most importantly, make it believable, right? It's never a good answer to sort of say, if I get your money, I'll be able to do this, right? What if you don't get his money? How are you still going to be able to achieve what you need to achieve, right? slide 9, financial projections, right? This is, everyone's going to always ask for a model, right? Like it's one of those things that you just have to give out, right? Again, a model shouldn't just be for the sake of a model, right? I actually use our financial projections all the time to be able to actually visualize, okay, if I'm talking about 20%, 30%, 40%, 100% growth, realistically, how am I going to be able to achieve that? What resources are required for that, right? Do I believe my unit economics? Do I believe my CAC? Do I believe my LTV? All of these things are important, right? Putting it down on a piece of paper allows for you to be able to understand, can you actually do what it is that you say you're going to do, right? So financial projection, always going to be important. And I know most people talk about this being a throwaway slide. I can tell you from the other side of the table, and I can tell you also from speaking to a lot of VC friends, this is actually very important. Most of the time, right, no matter how great your idea might be or whatever it is, how great your slides are, at the end of the day, they're buying you, right? You guys, like, by definition, a startup does not have traction, especially somebody who is trying to raise a seed or pre-seed round, right? They are buying you. They're giving you their money, right? They need to be able to know that you have the ability to be able to execute everything you said on that page, and most importantly, they need to be able to like you, right? So you always talk about you being humble and all of that stuff. Yes, be humble, but also understand what makes you exceptional. Be able to articulate that, right? That's not arrogance, that's confidence. There's a huge difference between the two, right? And this one, and it's actually funny. I've been through a lot of these meetings where I've seen people absolutely kill it the first 10 slides, right? And at this one, that's when they really start to falter, right? The ask needs to be incredibly clear, right? If you're going out and you're asking for a specific amount of money, right? A specific amount of funds, or whatever it is that you're asking for, right? Explain what those funds are going to be used for, right? Have that thought out strategy. Because if, you know, at the end of the day, the worst answers I tend to hear is that, yes, we're raising between 2 and 5 million. That's a huge range, right? What's the difference? Like, what are you going to do with 2 million versus what you're going to do with 5 million? Pick a number, right? Be clear, right? This is where the investors really understood that you are valuing his money, right? So that you have a strategic plan where you can actually use each one of these dollars, and you're not going to blow it on, I don't know, like vacation to the Bahamas or something like that, right? So there's no ambiguity here, right? Be very clear. This is your ask. Be very clear also with what you expect from him, right? How's your round going? When would you like feedback from him, etc. Right? This is your call to action. In the last, it is worth repeating. Don't go in there with a range. That makes no sense, right? This last bullet point is important. Nowadays, what is needed to get you to sustainable profitability? We're no longer in 2020, no longer in 2021, right? Like, those valuations were insane. Money was very free flowing. A lot of times people are going to be asking you, okay, cool, how much money do you need to get to sustainable profitability? Have that answer, right? So final tips and tricks, right? Humans have short attention spans, right? I can tell you, there's I probably picked out like 5 people in the room who've already gone to sleep, right? So people have short attention spans. This is not a joke. It's very similar to dating. It's very similar to friendships, right? Most people make that decision very, very quickly, right? So you got to be able to grip them at that opening very quickly, right? It is very hard that once you've lost them during that first impression for you to get them back, right? So that's why keeping things concise, keeping a pace, keeping it engaging, all of that is important, right? A good trick that has actually helped out for me, depending upon how much time the situation allows me to have with an investor. Have your pitch in 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 30-minute increments, right? I had one investor who invested in us when I just met him at a conference. I only had 2 minutes, right? So just make sure that you're able to, you know your pitch well enough that you can, no matter what the time is, you are able to fit it in there, right? Use your cap table as a strategic tool. This is one of those things that I learned the hard way. Trust me, it's the best advice, in my opinion, that I can give to anyone. Money is great, but money is fungible. What is not fungible is having a good partner by your side. A good or bad investor can really make or break your company, and make or break how miserable or how much fun you're having, right? Investors have the ability to be able to open distribution doors for you, to acquire new customers, to help you expand geographically, to help you continue to grow, right? So I know it's really tempting to just kind of be like, I'm going to take the first check that anyone's willing to give to me. Depending upon your situation, you may have to do that, but think about your cap table as a part of your strategic toolkit, right? It is an important one. When a person has given you money, there are two types of investors, right? There are those people who kind of give you money and completely hands-off, walk away, right? Maybe that's something you like, but to be honest, I've always found like a good investor who is very involved, who wants to help me grow my business, has always been far superior to the other kind. Well, there's a third kind who just makes your life miserable and try to screw you over at the end, but anyway. And finally, it is incredibly stressful. It can be incredibly disheartening. It can be, I know you tend to be super passionate about what you're doing. You tend to be super passionate about your idea, and you go in front of investors enough. You hear no enough. It can get you really down, right? But at the end of the day, remember, a no may not just be a no. A no may not be a no forever. It could just mean a not now. And secondly, a no should never be taken personally, right? There's nothing to do with you, right? There's 1,000 reasons for somebody to say no to you about not wanting to fund your company. It's nothing to do with the idea. It's nothing to do with you. It's just not a good match. In fact, I tend to like the investors now who tell me no early. Saves a heck of a lot of time on both sides, right? So, but yeah, that's it. My email is up there. I'm more than happy to take any questions for now.
Thank you. Before we go to the questions, two things. One is a meme and the other one is a personal nugget. The meme is there are 3 universal truths in life. Life, death, updating the deck. It never stops. I would like to also share a personal example of how Ziad helped me and why I requested Ziad to host this particular topic. For those of you who don't know, I'm the CEO and founder of Secret Skin. It's a tech-enabled platform for sustainable beauty and wellness. I know Ziad through his sister, his co-founder, Anusha, who's also on my board and my investor. So we had already successfully raised a pre-seed. We launched 3 years ago, and March is when Ziad and I started talking at STEP. And I said, we're doing so many things so fast that I don't know how to say so much in a short deck. So he said, Anisha, come to my new office. We started working together in March, April. He tore the whole deck down, gently, because that is him. And we came out with a new version. It was probably the 73rd version of our deck since we have launched. And that deck got us into Techstars. June, we started the Riyadh Techstars Accelerator Program. Out of 750 applications, only 12 places were offered. And I want to say thank you to you for that. Okay, I'm going to take the mics around. My lovely Queenie is also there to share the mics. Even though we won't be able to engage with Ziad after 8:30 because he has to leave, you have his LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. These slides will be sent across to everybody. You will get a certificate today for this masterclass. Anyone? No questions?
Hi, thank you, Zia. That was enlightening. I am the co-founder of Hydrexa. It's a sustainable A2 water startup. I want to ask, like, sometimes, like, especially during demo days, it's mandatory for you to pitch even when you're not raising. How to go about that on the deck?
Sorry, so can you repeat the question? What do you mean during demo days that you're required to pitch?
Yes.
Right.
If you're not raising, you do not require funds at the moment for a short foreseeable future.
When you're a startup, my belief is that it's just never a bad time for you to be marketing yourself, right? You should be ready. You should be ready to be able to pitch, regardless of whether you want funds or not. And by the way, those tend to be the best pitches because you go in with a lot of swagger and a lot of confidence, right? And you tend to look the best during those times, right?
That's exactly my question.
Okay.
How to not put a slide where you're in the ask, there is no funds.
Oh, how to not put the slide? Oh, you don't have to. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not going there, like I said, the ask has to be very specific to what it is that you want out of it. It may not be money, right? But there's a reason. What do you want out of it? Do you want introductions? Do you want help with orchestrating your architecture? Whatever it is, right? The ask is what the ask is, right? The ask doesn't necessarily always need to equate to money.
Thank you.
Ziad, this is a very interesting line. In fact, I haven't really thought about it ever. Using cap table as a strategic tool, can you spend 2 minutes more on this?
Yeah.
What exactly mean by this?
Yeah, so all investors and all money is not created equal, right? You will have 3 different categories of investors typically. There's the investors who kind of give you money and walk away, right? They can be good if you need the money, right? You don't necessarily want anything else, or neutral, maybe. They're those investors that stay very involved with your business, right? They want to help. They want to open doors to you, right? Like if you want distribution, you want customers, you want relationship, you want introductions. At the end of the day, by the way, everything, especially in this region, is all about relationships, right? If you guys have ever tried operating in someplace like Saudi, right? The right relationship is what makes or breaks it, right? Like it's just a reality of. And by the way, actually that's an unfair statement. It's not just this region. It's globally. Even to social.
Reading this as a different thing, I thought that how can I use the existing cap table as a sales tool for my next fundraise? So I read it differently.
I mean that's also true, right? The type of people that will show up on your cap table are the ones that are going to end up encouraging the future ones, right? Typically, it's better to go with people that have a wider network. That know what they're doing, right? Typically.
So, just 2 questions I have. Thank you for time. My name is Murat. I'm a founder of OneMove, the marketplace platform, helping to find pickup trucks, tow trucks, and movers on demand. So I'm at the pre-seed stage. So where should I focus on my pitch deck if I'm a sole founder and I have outsourced dev team and I have no traction? So where should I focus more? And I'm like a first-time startup founder.
This is a great format to follow, right? Everything's doing projections, except for the fact that I don't believe you have no traction. If you have no traction, then you should probably get traction before you start.
Yeah. So regarding the traction, as you mentioned, that like it's not usually like the revenue because I don't have anything, but so the steps that I achieved, I can just simply show that this is as a traction.
100%, right? My network when I moved here was in the U.S. American investors did not want to invest in the MENA region. That was 4 years ago. It's very different now, right? No one knew me in this region, right? So when I was coming in here the first couple of times when I was going about doing fundraising, it was just the idea, right? It was just about what we had built thus far, right? And that's what you've got to show them. And that was the point also that I made, where it is good to stay in front of the people that have expressed interest, so that you can show them as you continue to build upon what you said you were going to build on, right? My first investor, my seed round investor, he only invested a year after our first meeting. So I had to show him what I'd done for a year before he invested.
And second question, regarding this, should founder also include his salary, or should he have salary when he's raising the fund for the
Oh,
startup?
1,000%. Oh my God, like 1,000%. I mean, don't be greedy, right? Be reasonable. Understand that every dollar going in is a dollar going out, right? But at the end of the day, you are building a business is a 24/7 job, right? Like, you eat, sleep it. You're always thinking about it, right? My businesses were always my babies, no matter how many times I do it, right? You don't have the mental headspace to also be worrying about financial difficulty. That being said, good advice, downsize, right? I mean, if you're living a lavish life, you're showing up to investor meetings in a Ferrari, like it's probably going to show you, like it's probably going to be a bad impression, right? Especially your first time founder.
Can I ask a question? Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for this experience and sharing us your learning from your journey. My name is Hussam. I'm a founder of a startup called RFXI, where we are simplifying the RFP processes using AI. My question is very simple, like based on your experience coming from like different region and starting here, and based also on your 3 exits, what are the main 3 key values for investors that they really look for, and what are like your learning from that? Like you mentioned different tips and best practices regarding problem that you are solving, the team that you are behind, how innovative that you are, the return of investment that investor wants. So just from your really personal experience and from your 3 exits, what are the 3 key value or lessons that you could give to us when you come to the fundraising, and what are like really the investors that are looking for? Because sometimes it's really different. There is like a culture fit, sometimes an investor like you, sometimes an investor match your vision, or sometimes the investor will look to your background or the problem that you are solving. So really from your personal point of view and the fundraising and investors and the market fit here in this region, what are the main 3 key value from your 3 exits? And thank you very much.
Thanks for the question. I actually don't think that what you just said was a bunch of different things. I think one of the most important lessons I learned is that you cannot sell someone something that they don't want to buy. It's actually that's actually very powerful. This is what I said. What I really love those investors that just say no to me immediately. It's great, right? I get something out of it. I've been able to practice my pitch. They probably asked me a couple of questions. Them saying no to me, fantastic, amazing. Moving on, right? Going back to this chart, right? Given the fact that you typically are coming to these people not with a lot, they've got to be able to believe that story. In 5 minutes, you're not going to convince someone to believe your story. They would have already thought about it, right? So at the end of the day, this is why I also said, do not take no's personally. If the person's already not thinking along the same level, same wavelength, it is going to be very difficult for you, right? It is going to be incredibly difficult. So you're not trying to convince, these aren't sales pitches necessarily, right? It's an articulation of something that you see, and you hope that the person across the table shares that vision, right? So when culture, team, etc., all those things that you talked about, right? They are just not as important as knowing who you're speaking to, right? Know them. Are they interested in the space, right? Have they expressed any kind of desire to want to be involved in what it is that you're doing, right? right? Something that's probably the best thing that you can do is being well researched going into a meeting, right? I would say that's really it.
How was your pitch deck when you started the company?
Sorry?
How was your pitch deck when you started the company?
Oh, terrible. Awful. Yeah, like, I mean, it's a good question. It is a good question, by the way. What I will say is, no matter how crappy your pitch, your V1 of your pitch deck, I think Anisha said it was V73 for her. I think mine ended up at V250, right? No matter how crappy your first pitch deck is, just get it on a page, right? It's going to be that. It's going to evolve, right? But if you're constantly thinking about it and being afraid of the fact of like what you're putting out there, you're just never going to get there, right? So do as opposed to think. But that's a really good question.
Hi, thanks for all the valuable information. I have two questions. One is that when you apply for some accelerators or the investors and you send your pitch deck and all that, and you're getting the no at the end of the day, so how do you find out the reason why you are getting the no and you can do the pivot and all that? The second question is that if you are a startup, product startup, and you are also generating the revenue from the services sector, like you are providing some services related to that similar product. So, at what stage you are going to add another product into your portfolio to generate more revenue?
Okay. On your first question, it's really simple. Ask, right? Don't be shy about it. Right? Don't ignore them. If somebody says no, don't be offended by it. Just be like, thank you, really appreciate your time. I'd love 10 minutes just to be able to get your feedback, right? Can I give you a call, right? Normally people will say, no, don't give me a call, and then they'll write you an email and they'll tell you why they rejected you, but you will get concrete steps, right? They will articulate that the sector is not for them, the product wasn't for them. I don't think they'll ever articulate that they didn't like you personally, right? But you can suss that out yourself in the meetings, right? But ask. The good institutional investors, the ones that have done this repeatedly, right? They will respond, right? For them, it's valuable to be able to grow their own founder network, right? By the way, the dynamic, I know that sometimes it may feel like that, especially, unfortunately here, but the capital doesn't outweigh the intellectual fortitude that you guys are bringing, right? In fact, I would say that the capital is fungible. What you guys are doing, what you do as a founder, is not, right? So you are very much on equal terms with these people as you're going in. Don't be shy about stuff like that, right? And by the way, that being said, I think it was my third meeting that I was in in one of these meetings with one of these VCs, and at the end of the meeting, he was basically very bluntly like, you have no connections here, you have no relationships here, you don't belong here, go back home, right? You will sometimes come across people like that, and I'll be like, oh, cool, thanks. Appreciate it. I was also very happy when I sold my company and said, yeah, thanks for that, right? You can get petty sometimes like that, but typically people play nice. Typically people are professional, right? Don't let the one-offs freak you out if you have had that experience. They are one-off. Your second question. I would say, this is just personally for me, I cannot speak across the board. I don't like pre-seed, Series A decks with multiple products in multiple geographies. I don't like it. I think that it's hard enough to do one product well, right? If your vision out there is, I'm gonna introduce these 10 different products and that's how I'm gonna meet my projections, good luck, buddy. I can tell you from experience, it's really hard to do, right? So that's my personal opinion, right? Also understand, every new product that you introduce requires more capital, right? So think about the financial projections. Don't just add the revenue and keep your cost base the same, right?
Hello, I'm Albert, the co-founder and marketing director of Fitness KPI. We're a business intelligence and AI for fitness. It's a SaaS software. So my question is, if you have 5 minutes usually as the optimal time to do a pitch, and we're basically pitching to business owners, fitness business owners, who sometimes don't fully understand what a business intelligence is or what AI is, what would be like top 2 or 3 questions that we can ask to make sure that they are interested in the product, they really understand the product, or also what are the gestures that you usually see in the face or the expressions to know if someone is interested about what you're talking about or really fully understands what you're talking about?
Right. I should introduce you to my gym, by the way. They love this kind of stuff, the tech-forward stuff. In the case of customers, right, when you're talking about sales to customers, I would give the same advice that I gave about knowing your investors, right? I typically, when I was out at Spotty and I was doing business development, when we were talking about buy now, pay later, whatever it is, it was, I would often go, for big customers, go stake them out. What I mean by that is I would actually go to one of their stores and sort of see how customers are reacting when they didn't have credit, right? Or like things were too expensive for them, right? Being able to sort of collect that information yourself. Observation is important because you can figure out whether your product fits with them specifically. That's what product market fit is, right? So the questions that you typically ask them, never ask a question you don't want an answer to or you don't know the answer to. That's my opinion, right? Especially with sales, lead them on, right? You've already figured out from your research some of the problematic things that are happening with them, right? Pose your questions to that so that it seems like it's their idea, right? Sales, it's the same thing as like with VCs. You want them to think like it's their idea, that what you're bringing to them is their discovery, right? They want the credit for it. So that would be on the sales. What was your second?
The gestures or the expressions to confirm their.
That's easy, right? If you've been on a first date, or if you've ever, like, I don't know, been in a boring meeting, you kind of know, right? It's very hard for most people to fake, right? Like, my co-founder has an expression with me where she's just like, Ziad, fix your face, right? Because it's easy to be able to tell, right? No matter how hard you try, no matter how good an actor you think you are, right? But a really good sign, by the way, is when they're not asking you any questions. You're giving a presentation and you're like, are there any questions? They're like, no, everything's clear. No, it isn't. They just don't care, right?
Hi, Sid. My name is Sad, and I'm the founder of an agency called StageX. We are a venture advisory and pitch agency. So my question to you today is, in the context of pre-seed and seed, what is really the relevance of including a slide about the financial projections, knowing that at that stage, it is very likely that these things are never going to happen?
Because you still have to do the dance, right? Your financial projections are not necessarily what's going to, people are not going to hold you to that, right, pre-seed seed, right? But it is the one, it will help the investor build out his materials, because his materials will require financial projections no matter what. 2, it will given the investor some kind of confidence that you've thought through all those things that I talked about with regards to unit economics and things like that, right? Revenue growth, etc. Right? I actually just did a meeting with a company that was pre-product, not even pre-revenue, pre-product. It was idea on a napkin, piece of paper, with one of the largest investment firms in the region, right? And the only question that the VC asked was, can we get a model, right? pre-product. So it's one of those necessary evils.
We have time for just one more. We can bless somebody asleep, Max.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I came for a story. So, my name is Max, and we just make camels happy. That's simple. Yeah, and question: what did you do first when you got money after your first exit?
That is good. What did I do?
The truths,
Yeah, exactly. Story.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of going through it right now.
They're like a Vegas stripping ball.
It was a private jet. It was a private jet. Because I was just like, oh yes, why not? Like, I didn't tell my best friends. There was that. But an important element of it, that was the one thing that I allowed myself to do. It wasn't crazy. Like, it was extravagant, but it wasn't crazy. I didn't necessarily upscale my life because I want to keep doing this, right? So I was always kind of like, I'm eventually going to start my next one. And the one thing, I know, this is actually going to be kind of ironic given the context of this. But my co-founder and I actually have a saying that we're just like, we want to be able to do a startup that requires no capital and no people, right? I never want to sort of be at a position where when I'm going out there the next time, because I'm more into this because I enjoy doing this. I like building companies. I don't want to just go off on a beach and retire. Also, the next time I want to do this, I don't want to have to go through this, right? Like after all of this advice, it can be a very grueling process, and it's just like one of those things you don't necessarily want to do. So,
thanks, man.
Thank you. That was amazing. Again, for those who want to stay in touch, please reach out to Ziad on LinkedIn. His email is there. I'm going to walk him out. And for those guys who have not scanned their RSVP app, please do go to that beautiful lady with a mic and do that. We're going to have reflections just now, and Jamil, come on. Thank you.
Before he leaves, if you found this helpful, don't just clap. Stand up and clap. Come on. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
So, standing up also. So, who has very strong thoughts about the presentation today? Who feels that you have something to add? Okay, please. Okay, anybody else? Come on. Anybody else? You want to add to the topic? You feel like there is something you can share in addition to the topic? No? Okay. Who have raised multiple times? Raised for multiple startups multiple times. And exited. Okay, you come. Yeah. Come. How many times have you raised? 3 times. How much have you raised each time?
500.
How much money? 10 dirhams, that's the first one. Second one. 50. That's a big jump from 10 to 50. Third one.
50%.
110.
And after saving for 300
Saving how much? Anybody looking for investment? This guy. What are you gonna do with the money?
I'm gonna make like a thing like a skateboard, but it's not a skateboard. And you hold like this. First thing you like push the arrow front, it will go front. If you push it aside, it will go left. And if you
So it's like a personal mobility device.
yeah, it's like you sit on it and it's a skateboard and you can control it like it's like a car but yes.
So does it work with a battery? Does it have a motor?
I'm gonna make it work with the sun, with the solar panel.
Here you go. So I'm gonna get a couple more mics. There's one here. Okay, so you know that I'm not going to speak about this because I'm not very rich friendly. Okay? I mean, it's personal styles, right? So it works, pitching does work, but not for me. Okay? So I actually was able to raise money but without pitching. But for you guys, you all raise money with pitch decks, and you have seen people also help people to raise with pitch decks. So what would you say is the difference? If I was able to raise at least $300 million in 10 years without any pitch decks?
Well, first of all, congratulations on raising that amount of money. That's good. Again, more congratulations without a pitch deck. So I think, you know, there is a kind of a reality that we have to be really transparent and honest about. And every time that I'm getting the chance actually to grab a microphone and talk about those things, I think fundraising has cultural specifics depending on the region. So Ziad was mentioning that the ability of the startups to raise money is very much related to your ability to tie up the right relationship with people. This is 100% true, all right? In your case, for example, most probably because you've been connected to the right people and the right networks, so that has really made, you know, the fundraising exercise very easy for you. But for the people who have different concepts to explain, the people who are not very much well connected, everybody's going to go through the BDM exercise, the business development exercise, knocking doors, trying to connect with investors. But then once you have that opportunity to unlock the first meeting, that's the moment you have to show up with a story to share. And today was a really great presentation. It was a kind of a very great snapshot about what a pitch deck should be made of and what are the most important elements. There is one more thing that I would like to add as me being a founder of a pitch agency is very simply, everybody when trying to build a pitch deck, everyone will try to become a superhero. But I ultimately believe that this is not the right thing to do. A startup, when you are building it, you are doing it for a purpose. And as long as you are going through the exercise of building that purpose, you're going to take a lot of hits. And this is a reality, right? Because any founder that comes to us, for example, and he starts saying, we've done this, and we've done this, and we've done this, the moment we hear, we've done this more than twice, we know that there is something wrong in there, right? So that's why we ultimately recommend people to pitch with their own scars. Because most of the time what's going to happen, your most amazing idea is going to be born the moment you're going to show up your scar. And you will pitch with your scars and you will tell the world about, you know, the vulnerabilities that you are experiencing, but as well the challenges. And because great ideas are built when you are in the trenches, so you have to share that specific moment that you've been through with the investor. And the other thing that I would like to share is, most probably when you are telling your story with the pitch deck or without the pitch deck, you will have to connect with people through your own emotions. And you have to be genuine about your story, who you are, and everything else that comes after the pitch. Now to answer your questions, Jamil, how the pitch deck is important and how it could be really deterministic in raising funds. The answer is none, and that's the reality. It's not because you have a pitch deck that means that you'll be able to push the doors of all the investors. The pitch deck is your book. You carry a book to tell people about the story that you want to share, and that's it. Now, how you're going to tell the story, then it's an art and a science. It's an art because, first of all, you have to dig deep inside of you to know exactly how you want to tell your story, and you have to align that story with the industry. And it's a science because, as what we have seen today, there is a specific model that you need to follow. There is a Sequoia model, maybe 10 to 12 slides. This is what we recommend people to do, right? The sequence and the storyboarding of your presentation, that's going to depend a lot on your strength and your weaknesses. For a founder that has, for example, an amazing team, you don't have to make the investor, for example, wait 3 minutes. If you feel that this is something amazing to share with people, so you have to throw that information from day one. But that team has to be really exceptional. Exited 3, 4 times, 6 times, having in the board, and so on and so on. So that could be one of the examples. But then if you absolutely tackle something that is difficult to solve in the market, then you put all the storytelling on your ability to tackle something that is magical in the market. And you experience, the problems, you build the tension, you say that from the least severe to the most severe pain points, and then you throw your solution as something that is wonderful that everybody has to experience in the market. You build the tension, you build the urgency, and as you do that, you increase the curiosity of people. And that's doable through a pitch deck combined with your natural charisma. But don't pretend to be someone that you're not, and don't try to mirror some slides that shouldn't look like yours because they don't mirror your industry or your sector. All right. Thank
you. It took me a year not to ask, but to offer. That's what I wanted to add, and actually wanted to ask Ziad. So when you ask, I personally felt really bad when I just was coming and asked for money to raise or to continue my story. And eventually, after a year, beautiful. After a year, when I start offering, so this is our story, not just mine, but my team, my co-founders. Something magic, magic happened, and and then when I had the chance, finally to have fun, not just to be serious. Oh, come on, we're gonna build this stuff, but offer to be a part of your journey, to be a part of your story, not to ask. That's what a change game for me. That was I was going to share.
So the question is, how important is a pitch deck, right? So look, for me, when I meet an investor, I'm trying to decide whether this is the kind of investor that wants to go through a formal process where, part of the process involves having to pitch to them with a formal pitch deck, or am I going to try to build a rapport with them where it becomes more of a personal relationship and guiding them through my personal journey and why I'm trying to solve this problem and how I plan to solve it through more storytelling than anything else, which is what a pitch deck does as well. So a pitch deck does that in a very formal way. It's, you have hard numbers and facts. It's less emotional. And so if there have actually been plenty of investors that I've raised from. You guys hear me fine? Okay. Sounds different. All right. So, where was that? Yes. So I raised from investors who want a PowerPoint presentation on a projector and everything, and they want us to send them the PowerPoint afterwards, and they're going to study it and come back with more questions and blah blah blah. That's the normal process that most of us are used to when we go through, raising a round of institutional money. Then there are plenty of investors out there who want to get to know you as a person. and want to get to know your journey and why you're doing this. Because at the end of the day, I mean, as Ziad mentioned earlier as well, they are investing, a big component of why they're investing in your company is you, right? They want to get to know you, they want to get to know what makes you tick. How resilient are you as well? That's probably like 90% of the battle. There are going to be plenty of days when you're going to want to just quit and give it all up and go get a corporate job. Or just retire and go live in the forest or something. I've had a few of those. And so is this person going to keep going once I've given them my money as an investor? That's a very big determining factor for any investor to invest in you, right? So the business model and everything, that's all good and fine, that's important too. But is this the right person to do it, right? So I run a venture studio, and the beautiful thing about a venture studio is until a certain point, the business actually belongs to the studio until you spin it off. And we try to find co-founders to match it with each of the businesses. And if we find out 6 months in, for example, that that's not the right person for the job, we can actually change that co-founder. And it's a mutual decision at the end of the day. They usually know that they're not the right fit as well, but the right co-founder is so important. And in a studio model, we actually have the option to change that. Investors don't have that option. So once they've given you their money, they're stuck. And if you give up, they're screwed, right? So at the end of the day, that is a very important part of the decision. And so that's why they really want to get to know you. And so, as I was saying, there are plenty of investors I've met who care less about the pitch deck and care much more about you and hearing from you verbally what it is that you're trying to do. There was one, our very first institutional round of money, in fact, funny enough, the very first one. We'd already sent him the pitch deck as part of the process. You apply through an email address and blah, 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 and then they meet you. And we pulled out our laptop and put up the pitch deck to like walk them through it. And the lead GP, there's quite a bit of decision-making power. He says, you know what, look, you guys are ex-consultants, like my partner is ex-McKinsey, I'm ex-Bain. He said, I know you guys are good at decks, now put it away. I want to hear from you, right? So we started talking, and then we actually took out a piece of paper and actually drew a picture of a ship navigating through treacherous waters, and we're the ones, you know, on the ship, and we're then drawing pictures of how we want bags of money to get fuel into the ship to keep it going, and at the very front of the ship, you have the investor that we're pitching to guiding us through this river, right? And what's that? Yeah, basically. So now, I'm not going to say who this was, but the guy looks at us at the end of this pitch, so to speak, and then he looks at his partner and he says, you know, I like these guys, let's just do it. Right? So they're like, of course they have the pitch deck, they'll come back to it later on when they need to dot their I's and cross their T's, but it was not about the pitch deck at all in that case, right? So you really, look, you have to be a good judge of character, a good judge of like what kind of personality you're dealing with on the other side. And based on that, you decide, spur of the moment, how you want to pitch to this person. This is just one tool. That is not the ultimate way to get money. Not at all, in fact, by no means. So, and I want to come back to a question that was asked from the audience. I think it was, I can't remember exactly who, but from this side. And the question was, you know, you go to a demo day and they require you to pitch, but you're not looking to raise money, can you just leave the slide out? Of course you can. It'd be nice if you could tell them that you do need money at some point in the future and how much and what you plan to do with it, even if you don't need it right now, because the best time to pitch to an investor is when you don't need their freaking money, right? Because you're not desperate. Right? So many of my peers have had this experience. We have investors on our cap table right now who we started talking to maybe 2-3 years before they actually put any money in. And it's not because the process took 2 or 3 years. It's because we were talking to them just to build a relationship when we didn't need them. And they really appreciate that. And they saw the journey that we went through. They saw us, you know, getting traction, raising money, getting other people on board, and so on and so forth. And eventually, when we were big enough to raise money from them, it was a much easier conversation because they already knew us, they knew the company. You know, you could even send them emails along the way, include them on your investor updates on maybe a version that doesn't include sensitive data and so on. And so to me, a demo day where I don't need money is a fantastic opportunity. In fact, your conversion rate, if you look at it longer term, is much higher than everybody else who's on stage who's saying, you know, I only have 2 months left and I need, you know, $1 million, otherwise I go bust. You're freaking investors out at that point, right? Because like, what if they put in 200,000, you still need another 800, you're not gonna get it, and they just lost their 200 as well, right? So anyway, sorry, long-winded answer to a short question.
I mean, this is true, and many people here spoken to me when they were like doing their rounds, and they need the money. I say, well, I need $4 million. No. Like, what's your plan? If you really need the money, don't raise a big round. I mean, you're bound to get in that situation, and if you have to, raise the smallest round possible.
So dilution.
And dilution. So you raise big rounds on planning, on long-term relationships, and some people come and say, why can't you introduce me to people who invest? It's like, no, it's a relationship, and yes, like, you need to build rapport. And most of I have never seen a VC that invested actually in a startup on first relationship, like on first meeting. It's very rare. It does happen, I'm sure, but it just doesn't happen. Like, it doesn't happen so naturally. If you want to see most of the investors that I have, I've known some of them for 24 years. And I met them at least 4 times, 5 times a year, minimum. So it's a continual relationship. It's sometimes, like, some founders come, I introduce an investor and they are like, you have something, you're doing something? Like, they actually want, like, they're reaching out to me, asking me if I have a startup to invest in. So, and the other thing is, horses for courses. Like, you can't just go, you can't just go to any investor for any round that you have. You need to do some investigative work on what do they like to invest in. Do they invest in not just early stage and what have you. If you need money and you're bust, you need somebody who will understand that. Probably angels are better. Do it as a bridge, not as a full round. Make it small, stuff like that. So all of this does matter. What do you say when they talk about valuation? I say, like, listen, this is unpriced, okay? This is just safe note, okay? We'll do a safe note. Or you tell me what you want. When I put a value, tell me what's your value. So leveling down with investors actually does work as well. I know we always bash VCs and everything, but the reality is, in this part of the world, they're also still learning as well. As much as founders are still learning, this is an early ecosystem in here. But if you look at a lot of the VCs, like especially in North America, there are a lot of them are also, they were founders, and you find them caring less about the pitch. If you look at the docs and analytics every week, anybody follows that? Yeah? So when we send our documents and data room, we do it on DocSend. And you can see each investor, what documents did they open, how many seconds per page did they start on, everything. So I don't use a pitch when I pitch, but I do send it. You have, as you said, you have to, like, it's part of your disclosure. They need it. It's part of your data room. So I had an investor recently, like I think 3 months ago, who came to me and said, I looked at all your data, you're extremely overpriced, your valuation is crazy, you just are rooting yourself to become a unicorn without any substance, the performance is not good, and he also told me that my projections are crazy. And I'm like, he kind of ruined my day, and I'm like, and I looked to the guy next to me, and one of my team members, and I was like, open DocSend right now. He haven't opened the link at all. But some people like really don't care. They really don't care, and that's what I think Ziad also was saying. You will meet the odd one every now and then. They don't care. They don't care that they will crush your spirits. They just like noise to them, like, you know. But that's it. Whether the pitch deck or not, they didn't buy into you. They just don't like you, you know? Like, that's it. And that's fine.
Sorry, actually, I have something to say about that. Yes, it's an earlier stage ecosystem that we have here, but at the same time, we owe it to ourselves to do our research on the investors too, right? Who have they invested in? What do those people say about those investors? Because at the end of the day, you're taking money from people not because they have money. You can get money from many other places. You need to take money from people who will be able to help you grow the business and provide you strategic advice and so on and so forth. Ideally, somebody who has expertise in the industry or the model that you're operating, right? Now, there's a lot of investors in this region who have become investors to kind of stroke and satisfy their own egos, right? And you'll meet these investors once in a while. Unfortunately for them, their reputation will catch up with them at some point, right? And that's where you can reach out to people who have interacted with them in the past and get feedback on them so you don't waste your time with them, right? There are plenty of those investors out there. I have my own blacklist. I'm not going to share that with anyone, of course, but if you have questions about a specific investor, I'm happy to share my thoughts. But at the end of the day, don't just go into every meeting blind. Do your research on each of those investors. There are ones that you will know going in, it'd be nice if we can get their money because they have this, for example, a family group backing them, and that would be great for our business and all that. But you also set your expectations accordingly as well and say, discount any negative feedback they might give. Take it with a grain of salt at the very least, right? Because they're doing it to, again, stroke their own ego. It gives them a power trip to put other people down in certain cases. I think they're still the minority. There's still plenty of good investors out there, but you will meet those one-offs, as Ziad was calling them, and you need to know to just ignore some of that noise as much as you can, right?
So, thank you so much. My name is Mazen Gader. I've been attending this amazing community for a while. I mentor and coach and sometimes advise certain startups. And actually, I have one startup that has landed from the US. Rahaf, if you're there, I know you have a question there. But the question that she would probably ask, because she's science-based startup, looks at innovation in the area of cardiac arrest. Using some innovative methodology, very scientific, but and I would love her to come and ask a question because she has a lot of interest to come into this and find investors that could resonate in that same level, scientific, and maybe some of your advice to science-based startups while she comes over to ask a more difficult question.
Do you want to start? All right. Actually, the question is really very interesting because, for example, in the portfolio of the startups that we support, I would say like a good 11 to 15% is scientific based. And we see that inflow of startups coming from the US to the Middle East because that kind of idea might have a better acceptability in here, knowing that the investors are very much lenient towards investing in these technologies. Now, the issue that happens with most of the pitches, and again, I would like to bring back actually the discussion to the importance of having a pitch, because a pitch doesn't guarantee investment, but a pitch just guarantees your ability to pitch, and that's it. What happens with those scientific-based startups is they struggle actually to communicate the same language as everybody else. And that would require you to understand who is your audience. By default, you're talking to sharks that are looking for money. So the first language that we need to speak is the language of the numbers, not the language of the drama. So it's always data over drama. That's one of the things that is very important. The second thing is, it's about the ability of the founder to articulate what is his value proposition. Think of the investor as a 5-year-old guy. He needs to understand the business in a fraction of a second. So what is the ability of the founder to explain a whole scientific process in a few seconds by delivering immediately to the audience what is the value proposition? And that would require to know really what your value prop is and being able to transform it into something very easy. A lot of the founders today, because they speak the language of the AI, they assume that everybody understands it. But I put my hand on fire that 95% of the people know what AI is. And they still do not know exactly what are the capabilities of the AI. But because we do see a lot of investors being very much, they hope onto the word of AI, ChatGPT, they feel like it's a buzzword, so they buy to it. And of course you've got some founders that have like a big charisma as well, so they package the whole thing in something that is very much sellable. So that works. But as we are getting into an investment era where we are more talking about companies that have to be bootstrapped at the very beginning, and companies that can have a sustainable profitability, as Ziad was mentioning, we are then looking at startups and founders that are able to articulate that value proposition and then to have a conversation with the audience. That's very important. So I would highly encourage everybody, to put and to dedicate a lot of time into understanding their business, because if people are not able to explain it in one sentence, then we question what is the ability of the startup to deliver even after funding.
So if you want to reverse also, I'll just add this thing, I'll come to your question. If you want to reverse engineer the effect of the AI hype, because it's a hype as well, if you look at most investors who don't understand AI and they're still investing in it, why they're doing that? Because they have personified AI. AI is like a person now. So we were in an event that Nasreen was doing yesterday, and titans of supply chain industry are sitting, and they're talking about AI like it's like a third person. Like it's a person actually, And there's like, AI has good juju and bad juju, good AI and bad AI. And AI killed people in some country, and like the answer was, AI didn't. Somebody set up that AI and they overlooked it. People died, yeah. So, but like anything that's hyped, like if you look prior to AI, what was the hype about?
Metaverse.
Metaverse.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, crypto. So when people speak about crypto, it's almost just that, I don't know what is it, that colorful bear. It's like all the crypto, even before NFTs, there are these like symbols, and people just have that stereotype now about crypto people, and I don't know, the chains. But the idea is, it's a commoditization effort to a big, difficult idea. And when you're doing something new and that's niche, you have to pick your audience, like what Ritesh was saying. So I only did deep tech and material science all my life. I have never done anything else. So material discovery, algorithms, I've done AI, I've done machine learning and spatial computing, this is what I've been doing all my life. I do not go to anybody just to pitch. And I think this is why I can also do it without a pitch, because you're from the industry. So if you're doing stuff in cardiac arrest, and probably I'd just go to a doctor who has money. No, really, I would. And there are a few, So, for example, there is an investor in F&B, an angel that invested in a lot of startups in this room that are in F&B. And I'm not joking about this. You know what he does for a living? He is a laparoscopic surgeon, which basically is this thing, the procedure to actually cut the stomach so people lose weight, but he invests only in F&B startups. What does this tell you? This guy believes that the food industry, F&B, is the reason he has customers. And he's actually the #1 in a specific country here in the region. The #1 by volume, and he's the most prized. He's the highest priced doctor. Exactly. So probably cigarette companies. So if you look at, for example, the Marlboro dealer, I don't know if you know this, but they run the largest chemotherapy business here as well. The Marlboro dealer here, not in the UAE, in the GCC. They're all GCC. The largest car dealer has the best orthopedic hospital. Exactly. They consider it a vertical integration into their investment. Yeah. I know it sounds silly. Yeah, so sometimes, some of these guys are so old money and so big that they actually think this way. So if I want to sell shovels, I'm gonna tell everybody that I'm gonna buy any gold they bring me in a very high price. So people go and buy my shovels to find that gold. So this is how people are building businesses, and these are the best businesses, in my opinion, where you create the demand. So go to somebody where you are creating the demand for them as well. They'll invest easily. But you go.
Okay, that's a lot for me to say. The first rule of thumb is that we cannot downgrade people for what they do for a living or investing or doing business. Business has its own ethics. It's not an unethical profession, and so we cannot go out in public and then tell people, well, this person is creating the demand and that's why the other people are investing in that business. This is a red flag and cannot be actually said. Now, when we talk about, truly, no, I'm really truly telling you that these kind of statements are just not the right statements. To everybody.
No, not to me.
Okay, well, up to you. So, the other thing also that I can tell from what I heard today is that it looks like everybody is talking about one size fits all, and it's not. Also, there's a lot of sentences that start with a high level of certainty, and there is no certainty in any business. So, back to what I was just sharing with Mazen a while ago. Also, you raised the idea of scientists, and scientists cannot be articulating well the business language. No, wait. Do not answer me now, because I heard you until the end. So you are now obligated to hear me to the end. So scientists are respectful people, whether you like it or not. And when you say things about them, you would have to put it in a respectful sentence. And I'm sitting here like before you. And so I would not like you to say that I do not know how to articulate my sentences to investors, and I do not know how to pitch just because I'm a scientist, and I cannot. And I can, doesn't matter, that's what I understood from what he said. So he needs to understand how his audience understand what he's saying. And if I understand you wrong, then you said something wrong.
No, that's not true.
That's my opinion. It's up to you.
Your understanding.
So when we go to the medical innovation and then how science is driving medical innovation, there is no doubt that there are medical innovations on this earth that save lives. And the people behind those medical innovations are actually scientists. And they have been through academia, fellowship, training, in entrepreneurship, and then they are by name called physicians, scientists, innovators, entrepreneurs. And then they're leading the change at a federal level. And so we know how to articulate, and we know how to pitch. And we also have our network of investors. Very true. Now, regional differences, yeah, I agree totally. The language of business from region to another region actually differ. And the way how we look at investors is actually also looks like to me quite different. I've been here 2 months only. So from whatever I heard, presentations and lectures about investors, feels to me that the investor is the one who is driving the business. Or kind of, the founder and the entrepreneur is giving them the right to lead the business somehow just because he got money from them. And we actually are on the opposite spectrum elsewhere. Investor is somebody who wants to come and put money in your business because, sorry, I have to move this way.
What was your question?
So I don't have questions, but I was just, I don't know. So when I was talking to Mazen, I was just saying some comments, so it's not actually questions. Maybe people are not interested in what I'm saying, and feel free to leave, but if science is not a good idea for a business to many people, then that's fine. But the sector of science and business is probably deviating a little bit from creating something and then build it and then exit and then create and exit and etc. It's just different. Science takes a long time. We are trained to pivot quickly. and then move from one medical innovation to another. It's data driven, which means that we use the data to be able to innovate and sell that product to healthcare system. And so it's a long process compared to the usual business that's done for just trading or selling and exiting and making money. Scientists do not make a lot of money, even when they do business. And so probably profitability is not the main priority when we do science, but probably more like the value proposition that what we do. I don't know what else to say, but my main purpose from discussing this is just to differentiate healthcare system innovation and business from other type of businesses, just because mainly, and the main point is that it takes a long time. And we cannot ask the investor to invest money and then make them predict and expect to make money in 1 or 2 years from now because we're planning to exit in 1 or 2 years from now. Maybe we will never exit. Maybe we'll build a company and that company will live 15 years. And so maybe that particular investor actually want to exit, which is diluting, and then we bring other investors. And usually we have a pipeline of long investors, which means that if one investor no longer want to invest, then goodbye, we find another one. So we don't give the investor the right to leave the business. The founder has to stay and lead that business. This is healthcare. There's a special structure of shares and stocks in the company that we actually use in our healthcare businesses that do not enable any investor who sits on the board to vote for like kicking out the founder. And we often do that. So investors do not have that, godlike thing in our companies, but they have their own stocks, shares, and if they like to have voting shares, they can have voting shares, and then they will be probably part of other 300 who also have voting shares. And so,
Thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Well, just to answer, I wouldn't say an answer, but I respect, the scientific opinion you have about, like how to run healthcare businesses, and congratulations on any achievement that you've done so far. The matter was really to talk about, how we pitch businesses. When it comes to scientific things, it is a fact. Whether we like it or we don't like it, the biggest scientific on earth, they needed some help to tell their stories the right way. So we cannot question the history. And if I have to be scientific, these are track records. We just have to read them. The second thing is, I have heard a lot, what you have said, and it's interesting. But for me, it seems like it's still lacking a little bit, the capacity of storytelling. Because the point was about, saying a lot, but just saying the less. And that's all I have to say. And most of the people, they need a little bit of support on that one.
Sorry, I don't remember your name. Miss... Now she's not listening to us. So I was really curious. What's your good name, sorry? What's your good name? Thank you. Actually, I was curious. I thought you will talk about your business. So what is your startup, or what is your business, actually? Or your, I don't know.
I don't know if there is a reason.
Is it something about heart defect, or I was so curious to hear. So, what's the startup about?
Yeah, well, maybe it's not probably the right time to put my startup here and say what I didn't say.
No, so she's asking. This is not.
Oh, okay.
Like, good question though. The reason why is because we actually deal with a lot of intellectual property and proprietary information at very early stages. And so that also could be a factor contributing to why scientists are perceived to not know how to articulate what they are doing, simply because we really have a lot of confidentiality layers that we have to acknowledge. And so not every story a scientist tells is expected to be a compelling story to an investor who's not in the domain. And so a lot of proprietary information we deal with and we have to protect on multiple phases, not only at one phase.
I totally get it.
Okay.
When it comes to pitching, the scientists have to exist without their patients. The stories that they pitch is not the story of
Well, the
their
scientist is not the only
It's
one
their
who
own
is
stories.
running the
And
show.
they use
We
the
are a
patients as
teamwork.
script.
No, it's a
Okay.
teamwork.
Going back to our subject.
Just a question.
So I understand we're talking about pitching and raising funds, and the process is about selling. So when I'm pitching, I'm selling to investors in order to come and invest in my idea or in my project or company. And probably, you can, I worked in sales for my life. If you don't have a good product, you will not be able to sell. You might be able to sell once, but it will not be able to continue the selling. It will collapse at the end of the day. So you need to have a good product in order to be able to sell. And selling, you can have relations, you can have the different methodologies that we discussed. Now, from your experience, at what point of time you will be able to judge that this is a good product or not a good product? We talked about traction. Attraction, is it the number of users that you're attracting? Is it generating revenue? Is it accumulating or generating growth? What triggers you? Or if this is an advice to the new startups. So raising its probabilities, you have more likely to be successful if you're at a certain stage or you hit certain milestones. So from your experience, what qualifies as a good product or a good startup that encourages you to be more likely to invest in something?
We start raising money without even MVP, not even product. And it works well. We've got vision, we've got expertise, we've got team, and eventually the people invest and press it like in the team, in person. So product will come. Okay, now like we've got MVP, and slightly demonstrate how it works and like do it like a product market fit. But again, personally to us as a biotech company, we started raising without any product. That's our case.
I think what qualifies a great product or not. I think that sometimes people have to get back to the basics. Numbers don't lie. And again, that depends a lot on what is the stage at which you are. When we support the founders, for example, a lot of them, they have great numbers and traction. It's just a matter of knowing exactly how to package these tractions, and you tell the story of the numbers, okay? And the other thing you were mentioning, what could make a great story of a product that sells, right? I think you have to read the signs. Sometimes, when you're sitting in front of the customers, if you are able actually, to capture the attention of the people for more than 3-4 seconds, and then they start questioning, that is a great sign. That's one. The second thing, from an investment perspective, the moment you close your pitch and people are willing to give you a second chance for a second meeting, that's another good sign. So there is the story of the numbers, and there is the story of the behaviors. And both of them have to be equally ranked in order for you to know if your product is great or not great.
But this is the selling process. So here we have the case where they managed to raise funds without having the product. How often would you be willing to invest in a company without, that doesn't have MVP?
So the question is, if I would be able to invest in a startup that has no revenue yet?
At which stage
Yes.
you will be able to say that, now I'm more likely to go and invest here? Is it an idea with a good team, an MVP, a customer, a paying customer that grows? So there are multiple stages.
Yes. So I'm going to answer the question from a pitch perspective, and then maybe from a fund investment perspective. Today we spoke a lot about the structure of a pitch, but there was one slide that was missing, which is the why now. Okay? So when people are in a pre-revenue stage, they have to put a lot of bet on why it is the right time and the prosperous time for us to invest in a particular startup. And this is what really helps any investor or any advisor to verify the knowledge that you have about the market. Because you might have the greatest product on earth, but if it's not the right time to invest into it, it is just not the right time. So again, that's why I would like to bring back the purpose of the pitch. The pitch is not just to raise the money, it's your ability, it reflects your ability to understand your business. And the more you're going to redo your pitch, the more you're going to see the gaps in your understanding in the market. Because every time that you're going to do the pitch, you will realize that there is a vector or there is something missing in the story. So you're coming to me, you feel your product is amazing and it's great, but it is a missing piece in the puzzle. Is why it is the right time to invest into that particular business. That's one. And let's not forget as well that the story of a product is transferable. What happens in the US happens 3, 4, 5 years later in here, right? So you might pitch the idea as something that is very successful in the US, and you can provide the evidence of it, and you can even show some companies that have been invested in that particular space. But because it didn't start here, it doesn't show yet the right signals. So again, I will send you back to the idea of why now. You cap your reasoning with the data, and then you bring some competition or other facts that happen somewhere else in the world. And you bring all these, you blend these elements, and you present it in the form of why it is at the right time to invest into it, for example, in the UAE. But the why now is very important.
So look, in any fundraiser, there's two parties, right? One is the founder and the other one's the investor. I think the founder needs to decide for himself, first of all, when the right time is to raise. If you need money to be able to build the product, then you need to raise money. Without that, you can't, right? You can bootstrap it if you have enough of your own. That's great. If you don't, then you go look for an investor whenever you need the money. And you decide how much money do you need to raise to get to the next milestone? What is that milestone? What are the targets and the KPIs attached to it, right? At that point, you need to raise another chunk of money. How much do you need to raise then to get you how far, and what is that next milestone? So that's from the founder's perspective. And regardless of when you need to raise money, there's always going to be an investor on the other side to invest. Each investor has his own thesis or mandate, right? There are investors that will invest in just an idea, others that will want to see revenue of some sort, others that will want to wait until you're big enough where you have at least $10 million in ARR revenue, right? So they all have a different level of risk appetite. And so you simply need to decide when you need the money and who you need to go to for that money. Then as you grow, you have certain metrics that you're tracking that will determine whether or not you're a good enough investment for the investor. So two key metrics that come to mind, of course ARR is one that we just talked about, revenue, right? But then there's also CAC, which is customer acquisition cost, and LTV, lifetime value. So your lifetime value should be getting better and better over time as you become more efficient, as you become better at retaining your customers and getting more out of them, right? Growing that pie and selling them more services, for example, and so on. On the CAC side, you need to become more efficient at acquiring new customers, right? So ideally, for an investor, if I'm investing in, for example, a Series A company, ideally I want to see an LTV to CAC ratio of 3. That's just a rule of thumb, right? And that makes you quite attractive. If you're at 9 or 10, turns out you could probably turn on the taps for marketing and your CAC can go up, and it's okay because the ratio will go down, but it's still going to be above 3, so that's still attractive. So these are just some rules of thumb that should theoretically help founders decide whether or not they're in a good position to be able to raise, and for investors to decide whether that's a good startup to invest in.
So I just want to address one thing when Karen came here and had her rant. So it's not on you, man. You came, you introduced her nicely, you're a nice guy, okay? She represents herself only. He's apologizing, and you shouldn't, okay? Honestly, you shouldn't, man. I appreciate what you're doing as well, and you brought her. And guys, if you feel bad about her and you think she's a bad person, you're wrong. Okay, she can speak her mind. In this place, if we are seeking conformity and we all have to be one blueprint, this is not an ecosystem. We're not going to progress as well. So she can call me unethical, and I'm fine with it. And honestly, I shouldn't be an entrepreneur if I'll be offended by her. Neither should be you, honestly. I mean, forget about it, it's fine. She can actually state her mind. Me personally, yeah, I mean, I don't know how can you raise when everything is secret. And the funny thing is, We all were interested, even after all of that, in what she does, so it's not about her, it's not personal. Okay, so it's fine, it's her business. She has the right to conduct her business the way she does. Corporate social responsibility programs do exist. Well, it's ethical or not ethical, that's not really my problem. I think a company will invest to offset its damage. Like a mandatory or Lockheed Martin has an offset program to build hospitals where they sell equipment to bomb companies. Same. So if you don't mind that money, go raise the full that money. And she has a last question before we all say goodnight. So I'm gonna give Miss Fintech here.
So thank you. First, like all of you have successfully raised funds. So I know most of the investors now, they invest not just because they got founders or they have the best product or venture or whatever, because like it's an emotional investment. They create a forum. So for you, like what was your strategy to seal the deal with the interested investor? For each one of you, how you create, you give him the budget, you want to do the first meeting, the second meeting, okay, now you have a deadline, you cannot just leave it whatever, right? You have the timeline to raise the round and close the round. So I want to hear from each one of you, what was your strategy to seal the deal?
All right, well, you already heard one strategy, which is draw a nice image on a piece of paper. It did work, so there's some value in that. Now, I wouldn't say luck, we draw really well. We practice every night. So look, at the end of the day, the investor, I mean, despite the fact that, you know, they're meant to be taking risk, a lot of investors are still risk averse, despite what they might think or say. And so you want to try to reduce that risk somehow for them, right? To make it a little more digestible and more attractive. So some of the strategies that we've used in the past is you go through the process, of course. I mean, everyone's been through those, and you express interest on their website or get a warm intro. By the way, warm intros work a lot better than just cold calling, right? So please try to get an introduction through a mutual connection of some sort. Then you go through the process, share the pitch deck, they'll ask for the numbers, they'll ask for a data room, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they'll come back and they'll say, you know, Jamil, your valuation is ridiculously high. Are you kidding me? What are you smoking, right? And so at that point you say, fine, you might think so, but there's a bunch of other investors that don't. Are you saying they're smoking something too? If not, you know, what is the right valuation that you would want to invest in, and based on what, right? So ask for the metrics and the process through which they got to the right valuation according to them. And challenge those assumptions if you can, right? Because you actually have data. You're doing that business, they're not. They don't really know all that much, not more than you do, at least in many cases. And so that's one. Second, if you're asking for, you know, $5 million to last you a year and a half, you could ask for 2.5 now as one tranche, and then a second tranche of another $2.5 million a year from now, because the business will be accelerating at that point. You need more. Your burn will probably go up towards the end. So that last 1/3 of that duration, you'll need more cash than you did in that first 2/3. So if you break it up into 2 tranches, then all of a sudden their risk is reduced and there's milestones that you have to hit in order to unlock that tranche. So we've done that for one of our businesses in the past, where our lead investor came in and there were certain conditions that had to be satisfied before we could unlock that second tranche, right? So that's another way that you could kind of seal the deal. These are all tips and tricks that people have learned over the years and passed on to, you know, the rest of us and so on. So that's what I'm trying to do here as well. There are other things you could also do, like, you know, it doesn't have to be an equity round. It can be a convertible note as well, even for later stages. So a Series B even, right? If you're raising a bridge round, it doesn't have to be an equity round. So if you have a convertible note, you have a cap and a discount. So that way they're kind of hedging their bets a little bit as well, because if you do really well in the next equity round, they benefit from that tremendously more than they would have had they just gone in for an equity round themselves instead. So anyway, so you basically have to be somewhat creative. You can also say, like, you know, what if I were able to get, you know, half of the round closed by getting in these 3 or 4 investors? Would you then come in and take the rest of the round, right? Because that gives them some confidence. If they're the first investors to come in a $5 million round, they're putting in 2.5. What if you don't raise the other 2.5? Then you're going to run out of money, you don't have runway. And so that's a big risk on them. So it's kind of like a matching program, right? Put in 2.5 if we're able to get another 2.5 from somewhere else. But at least in principle, they've agreed to give you 2.5, and then you can go use that to get the other 2.5, right? So anyway, that's I'll think of more as you guys are going.
I'm going to try to be very brief, just to stay, mindful of everybody's time. But the first thing that I'd like to say, if a founder understands that creating FOMO increases the likelihood of getting investment, this is a very good sign. Now, from a pitching perspective, we do use a lot of techniques, basically, to increase that FOMO within the investors. And as opposed to giving you what is a theory, I'm just going to give you an example. When Elon Musk started pitching Tesla, he absolutely never pitched an EV car. What he pitched is problems about global warming, sustainable development, and the savings that he's going to create within the economy in terms of gas emissions. So suddenly, the whole pitch started talking about global warming and sustainable development as opposed to the EV cars, electric vehicle cars. So the EV cars became just the enabler for his vision to operate. And suddenly we moved from a TAM of 3 digits to a TAM of much bigger than that. And that creates the sense of the FOMO.
For me, it was like a simple. I kept updating and making fun with investors. So that's it. That's just like a great interaction and having fun. That was important to me.
I agree. Of course, all of this is valid. Honestly, if it's the right audience, one of the things that I find, what Ziad said, is like part of it is like their idea, or they feel that they discovered you. At least to their people, it does help a lot. A lot better than FOMO, although FOMO is required to push people to. Nobody likes to park their money, nobody likes that. And especially if they have a lot of long reasons to invest, they still want to see that the money has a way to come back. But FOMO does do the last push. I know, I'm not going to be delusional about this, but the most sophisticated investors, in my opinion, they look for a basket of things, especially if you're around Series A. They want to see if they can get a good deal. For example, for institutional investors, what I have experienced all my life is that they try to buy secondary stock. Mm-hmm. So if I can get secondary stock cheap, I'm going to come at the fair valuation of the company. I'm not going to try to discount it and push it down. But you have to create that opportunity. So this is why angel investors that are not so sophisticated sometimes is good for you. This is why giving ESOP is also good, because after 5 years you want to refresh the blood in the company, and you want those people with ESOP to sell their stock and become millionaires. But the new investor at Series A is getting a really good deal. It works out for everyone. We had one employee of a startup. She's attending regularly, and then I said something about firing people and giving them ESOP so they can cash it. Got super offended and never came again. So actually, she texted me. She was a really big person to come and tell me what you said is wrong. I disagree with it, and it's fine. But I don't know. I think for me, it's the best thing to do. I'll fire you and make you a millionaire. I think it's really late. I don't know, so in my opinion, creating those opportunities, even you can theorize about creating 1 or 2 of them, it helps you in maintaining your sustainable investment pipeline to go. And do not try to get as much money from every investor as you can and every time, because a lot of them will come in. I know it does sound counterproductive that why would I buy stock at a more expensive price? No. They would get on board with you. They would believe in you. They're like, yeah, I'm actually making money on the stock. It still has a long way to go. I'm going to support it even more with my own money. So it is not what we see from our point of view. Probably when we are, in the ship of the entrepreneur doing the startup. It's not the same to what the investor sees. They actually want to support, and if they feel that they cannot add value by helping your business, open the wallet again. It happens a lot. I think. Do you disagree? No?
Actually, I have one thing to add to that. Another trick that we used was, so we're talking to an investor, a big angel investor, and at some point he dropped in the conversation how he has a son in university and he's going to come home for the summer, and it was May. So at some point in the conversation I dropped in, hey, we're looking for interns. Like, maybe your son can come and work for us over the summer. So we got a free intern and we got funding as well.
By the way, all the VCs do that to get money from LPs.
Yeah, just very shortly, I think this will be perhaps asked even by others. As investors, how important it is for a team to have a co-founder? For example, if you are on a journey and you believe that you have everything, you're bootstrapped, you are self-financing the whole project, but at some certain point you meet with investors and they're insisting for you to have a co-founder. Is this a criteria for most investors, or is this something that is generally appearing today?
So, very strong opinions on this.
I have one too.
Feel free.
Very quickly, in 30 seconds, there are two types of investors. Superstitious ones, and then serious ones who actually go into the details. For superstition, everything is like a horoscope to them, okay? So they look at all the data of successful companies and how many male and female and how many number of 2-3 founders and how much did you raise at every round, and they look at the chart like, you're a Capricorn. It's almost like horoscopes, okay? So they like the data and they invest based on it. So they look and say, ex-McKinsey in the Middle East, from Pakistan. His name is Mudathir as well, I'm going to invest. So there are investors like that, okay? So, and if your co-founder is European, his name is Magnus, and you also acquired a startup with a Saudi guy in it, later on, prior to your Series A, okay, that's it. Your logo is green, and you say, Yalla, okay, finish.
Alright, so I'm a serial entrepreneur. Even before I started the studio with my co-founder now, and I can tell you for a fact that launching a business by yourself, launching a business period, is one of the most difficult things in the world, right? Even with a co-founder. Imagine doing it without one. I mean, it sounds like you're doing it right now, right?
Yes.
How happy are you?
We can get to that.
It sounds like someone needs some counseling. But I did, by the way, by the time I shut down my first, it was actually my second startup, I definitely needed counseling. But anyway, that's a whole different story. So there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. There are going to be days when, again, you're going to want to, you're going to be ecstatic because things are going great. Other days you want to throw yourself out the window, and everything in between. And if you have a co-founder, the chance of both of you having a bad day like that is pretty low. So one person can pick the other person up and vice versa on other days, right? So, and it's also important that, first of all, you can't possibly do everything yourself, not just in terms of bandwidth, but even skill set, right? So having a founder who has a complementary skill set makes the chances of your startup, it increases the chances, right, of success. Because you're actually able to do every task that's required well between the 2 or 3 or 4 of you, right? Versus 2 people who have the exact same skill set and that's all they can do. What about everything else that needs to be done, right? So if neither one of you is a technologist, you shouldn't be doing a tech company, right? Ideally, your CTO should be one of your co-founders. So, and then this is, in fact, why when you have 2 people who work together at a corporate, if they both quit their job, chances are they're in the same department doing the same thing. They both quit their job because they had a conversation over beers one night and said, this is a problem, let's do it together, right? And we'll start a business together. And again, they're basically doing the same tasks, and there's a whole bunch of gaps that are not being fulfilled. So generally you want to have at least 2 co-founders. Now, as a studio, for example, we don't build any businesses anymore where we have only 1 co-founder. We want ideally 2. Ideally, one of them is
an Arabic speaker because Saudi is one of the biggest markets and their Arabic really helps. Ideally, at least one of them is a female because we like diversity, right? And so on and so forth. So in general, even as an investor, I would not invest in a business with just one co-founder because there's massive risk in there. What if that one person gets run over by a beer truck tomorrow? The business is dead, right? So just for that one sheer fact that everything depends on that one person, that is a good enough reason to have at least two co-founders because there is business continuity in case something happens to one of them. If one of them, forget being run over by a beer truck, but more realistic examples, person goes through a divorce, has depression, blah, 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 right? And there's all these kinds of risks and this is just life, right? Continuity of business. Exactly, so business continuity is important, right? So yeah, and at the end of the day, like, for example, Kareem as well, right? There's two of them in the beginning. When they acquired a company in Saudi and they brought in a third co-founder, even though he wasn't technically a co-founder in the mothership, right? But the business needed more hands on deck, right, at the top. So in fact, they went from 2 to 3 at that same level. So as the business grows, you're gonna need more help. And bringing in a co-founder from the very beginning isn't a bad thing. Yes, you share the equity, but that's not a bad thing. I'd rather have 1% of a $100 billion company than 100% of a $1 million company, right? So.
I think my opinion is very much similar. When you look at the investors today, when they look at pitch decks, again, the team slide is one of the most important ones, specifically in pre-seed and seed. And the methods of evaluation are going to be very much influenced as well by looking at the type of skills and the abilities of the founding team. So picture yourself as being one picture on a team slide. So what would be the opinion of people? That's one. But as much as I say that I do not personally love the story of investors by picking up only startups where there are a lot of founders, 2, 3. The probability of success in a startup where you've got more than 2 founders is always higher because when you are a solo founder, you are basically facing yourself. And it's one of the aspects that a lot of people and investors do not talk about, even in the media. I personally do, because I know what is the cost of the psychology of being a solopreneur. I have been one, and I know how hard it is. But as much as I say that, I would like to say as well that we do not choose the people that we meet on our path. So you probably, being a solo founder today is not a choice. It's just because you haven't met, the right people that could be, a good complement to your skills. And unfortunately, in the VC space, you feel like everything is set by rules. But at the same time, when you take a step backward, you realize that those rules are not there to bother you. These rules are proven, and these rules, they have shown a lot of the past failures or successes of a lot of startups. But today, the trend is changing again. When you look at North American startups, today in the media, we're speaking a lot about the success of solopreneur companies. But what is the probability of success? It's you that's going to prove it.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted your opinion on what do you think on that. Do you endorse it or you don't endorse it?
So,
because the reason, just to clarify, sorry, I'm already on that path where now the product is finished and it's already going to be rolled out in production, which means that we already have buyers in. And I don't have a co-founder, that's true, because we never found one at that time, but we were in a position to completely finance the project until completion. It has exceeded $1 million until now. So the point of bringing a co-founder now, in your perspective, why is it so important? Is it because of failure, because you raised a very valid point, or is it just merely because you think they will add more value to it? That was
ideally both.
Yeah.
So I'll just add on this in close as well. So when I was at my first startup, I was really young and I had social anxiety. So like throughout my school career, like as a kid, I had like 2 friends. One of them was imaginary. So
how many do you have right now?
Huh?
How many do you have right now?
You own me. And you're imaginary.
What is
You guys are so mean in this space.
Okay, so like I went to open a bank account and I had to hire a lawyer to be my legal business adult thingy, and I took that piece of paper, I went to the bank And as the queue was coming across, like to my turn, my heart was here, in my throat. It was going to come out. This is how much social anxiety I had. I actually could not speak to other people at all, like at all, nothing. So I had to be a solo founder, like at the beginning. But then I kind of like, so okay, my point is this. If I have a Karen personality, so it's probably that I start alone is best, you know? So some people do not get along with other people because equally, as much as it's great for all the reasons, all the valid reasons that the gentleman just mentioned to have a co-founder, and how it is better for the investor in case of a beer truck incident. It is valid. I mean, investors think about these things, you know? It is also equally a risk to have drama with your co-founder.
Yes.
So,
especially if your co-founders invite you over.
Oh, that's what they call a cardinal sin.
Never do. As an investor, I would never invest in a couple.
However, if you look at a lot of successful startups, they have also couples and brothers.
That's the element of bias, never a couple. So
everybody.
Okay, so he works at husband and wife co-founders company. I'll hug you later. So
He's gonna say, would you invest in one of those? There you go. See.
Yes. Like,
but there's an investor already invested in with them, but they are like panicking.
So there's only one type of couple that can start a business together. One type of husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend that can start one startup together, and that is if you already did it. Everybody else should not. Those are only the right ones, okay? So I'm trying to be diplomatic.
The question is, are you going to invest in them?
Huh?
Would you invest in them?
Like a coffee to say hi. Probably nice people. So the point is the following. There isn't any right or wrong thing to do, way to do things. Like if you look at, and I'm gonna speak about this, and I know they're all gonna hate it, but if you look at Carlo, I'm gonna name names. So if you look at Carlo is a startup. It started, it had only one founder. And 6 years later, became a co-founder. Who happens to be from a very wealthy family, which helps funding, but it does help. You do what you need. Plus, it is probably a business risk. Maybe that first founder was like feeling burnt out and they felt like they can't give more, and they might want another co-founder in case they went out, it will devalue the company. The point is, it's never too late to add if you need to. And don't think that it's blocking you to start just because you need to have it for cosmetic reasons. Do not do it because you have to. It's the equivalent of getting married because you feel you're getting old. It will end up with a divorce most probably.
There is one thing that I would like to add when it comes to the solo founders. I mean, from my experience, whenever we advise some startups, everybody that is coming from a tech space, me personally, I've never seen a company started, a tech company started by one founder and it stayed that way. But again, the ability to continue exercising as a solo founder will depend, I believe, a lot on the type and sector where you are playing. For example, when we advise some legacy businesses, anybody who is really in the manufacturing, producing a product, usually in the market, you can buy those skills. You can buy them because the industry or the sector is mature enough and there is space for everybody. So with a little bit of money, you can go and you purchase the skill and that's it. But when it comes, for example, to technology startups, SaaS, no matter how much you buy those skills in the market, sometimes you would need still to have the vision of a co-founder, specifically when it comes, for example, to developing the product. Even if you outsource that function to someone, still you would need to have the philosophy of the founders really reflected into that. And hiring a third-party partner would not be really able to absorb that vision and philosophy, as opposed to the manufacturing or any other legacy work.
Sorry, I just want to add to that really quickly. I know you have to wrap up, right?
So it's the best time to bring in a co-founder is as early as possible, not just because you need help, but also it's a great test to see whether or not they're really passionate about what you're doing, because in the beginning you can't afford to pay them, right? You unfortunately are making a lot of money right now, which means they're going to expect to get paid from day one, right? That won't allow you to test their passion for what you're building.
It's going to burn out, as you said earlier, you raised a valid point. Because you're going to reach a point where you cannot sustain.
Of course, ideally, you'd want to bring one in earlier. I'm not saying don't bring one in, it's too late now, of course, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. So that's the best way. So are they motivated by equity? Are they willing to put in the hours and the hard work and the blood, sweat, and toil to get the business to the next level with you without taking a salary, right? That's the one thing I keep hearing from a lot of founders when I talk to them about potentially investing and so on. They always say, oh, I've been looking for a co-founder, it's been so hard, I can't. Can you just invest and we'll worry about it later? No, it is not impossible to find a co-founder. As a studio, we have a massive database of people we would love to get into our businesses. We can't build businesses fast enough to give them something to do, all of them, right? So there's plenty of great talent out there, and we have a fantastic process to vet them, and there's plenty of them that we would like to work with, right? You just have to get out there and really put your mind and heart and time into it as well. You need to talk to as many people as possible, attend events like this, for example. You're welcome. And also, you need to do your due diligence, right? So it's like dating. You don't marry somebody on the second date, right?
Why?
You go through the process for weeks and months if you have to until you're sure that this person is who you want to build this, you want to raise this baby with, right? Because, by the way, getting divorced to your romantic partner is much easier than getting divorced to your business partner. So please be very careful. But do your due diligence and find somebody.
And this is a traditional marriage. We're done out of time, sorry, but you can get your questions to them. And I will again want to thank our DJ at the beginning of the night, DJ Otto. And N5, of course, as always, from Champs here. I particularly also want to thank the team behind the organizing. So we have the extremely shy, doesn't want to, yeah, she's hiding there. So you come to her if you want to get a certificate for the masterclass to get scanned. So Queen and Milosh behind the cameras there. Alex, Anal, thank you guys. And other people like Anishka who actually did this. And especially to the master designer of the future here. Also to our guest speaker and for Raj for helping for that. And I think Mulham, where is Mustafa? Okay, so Mustafa is in charge of entertainment always. So I think he was already in the rooftop in High Five, right? So he's already there. So if you want to come and if you want to come, just hang out. You can come there. You don't have to buy something. You just sit out. Just bring a jacket or something. It's a bit cold. So thank you everyone. Next week we will have Idea Lab. We will have a nice session of just debating ideas, a couple of pitches, and on Thursday, we don't have time, I'm sorry. Like they will kick us out. They will tell us never to come again, right? Like the old individual guys want to speak. Yeah, I'm sorry. But we come again next week, we'll do the introductions, and on Thursday there's the MIT Lab pitch day, is it? Demo day. I'm gonna be there for sure. I'm not gonna let it go. So I'm gonna. Is there a link that you can send to the WhatsApp group for registration? Ali, you will? Okay. So thank you, and please, I hope you were not trying to start a startup together, you and Anud, because you're gonna start hating on me, Anud. I know, So even her mom is here now, and she came today to visit us. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.